How's it going, guys? My name is Fake Thriller, and you might be saying to yourself right now, oh my god, they haven't been posting Battlefield 3. They started posting this Ghost Recon stuff, but now they're not even posting Ghost Recon. They seem to be posting Excel spreadsheets, which is just unbearable and makes for the worst YouTube videos of all time. But unfortunately, or actually, fortunately for you guys, or at least for me, this is Battlefield 3. Believe it or not, this what you're looking at right now is Battlefield 3. This is a chart put together by a lovely individual, and I am ashamed that I do not know his name. I found it on Reddit about 2 weeks ago, and I thought it was great because it really breaks down the weapons and their individual attachments, and more importantly, the effects that those attachments have on the primary weapons. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sort of explain to you how this chart is, and then I've made this chart here available for download in the link below. And if anyone knows who made this, please send me a PM or put it in the comment section and thumb it up, and I will make a huge annotation giving them credit for this, because this is a fantastic tool for the Battlefield 3 player that really wants to know what's happening to his weapon when he puts on certain attachments. So what we have here is we have the list of primary weapons down the left, and a list of the possible attachments along the top. And what you have in the middle here, when you cross-section it, is the percent in which each attachment affect each primary weapon. For example, well, before I give you an example, first off, every weapon starts out at 100% for each individual statistic, meaning horizontal recoil without any attachments is 100%, and ADS minimum spread without any attachment is 100%, so on and so forth. So when you're reading this, you need to understand exactly what the effect actually is. So we'll start with the AK-74M. When you attach the foregrip, the horizontal recoil is reduced to 66%, which is a good thing. Anything listed in green is a positive effect. Anything listed in red is a negative effect. So you can see how everything's sort of categorized here, and the way most of the things work, most of the attachments work, is with a slight positive increase, but you pay for it with some sort of negative decrease. So for instance, the AK-74M has 66% of its original horizontal recoil after the foregrip is equipped, meaning it reduces it by 34%. So that's a good thing. On the downside, the aim down sight's minimum spread is increased to 150% of its normal spread, meaning your bullets, when aiming down sight, have a 50% larger area in which they could go. So moving on to the bipod, this is actually one of the unique categories because there is no downside to using a bipod as far as the attachment is concerned. Basically, it turns it into a laser death beam. The only real problem, as all of you will know, is finding a place to bipod up that doesn't get you shot in the head. For another example, let's move over to the suppressor, because this is actually a hot button issue with a lot of people post-patch, because the suppressor used to be a go-to attachment. I know it was for myself. Sticking with the AK-74M, let's follow it over, and you see the vertical recoil when the suppressor is equipped is reduced to 90% of its original, meaning you get a 10% vertical recoil bonus, or reduction, I should say. And also the aim down sight's minimum spread is reduced to 75% of the original. So, you know, technically good when you're aiming down sights. It's going to reduce vertical recoil, and it's going to reduce aiming down sight spread. However, you pay for it with a 40% increase in minimum hip spread. And also, more importantly, the suppressors now across the board affect when the minimum damage starts taking place on the weapon. For instance, the AK-74M does a maximum of 25 damage, and then it trails down to a minimum of 18.4 damage. What this means, this 60%, it means that 18.4, the minimum damage you can do, will start happening a lot sooner. And it essentially decreases the distance your enemy can be before you stop dealing 25 hit points of damage. So it effectively reduces your range. And for the last two, I think what we'll do is we'll move down to the M4A1 just to talk about a different weapon, and the heavy barrel. What this does is it increases vertical recoil by 15% for the M4A1. However, it reduces the minimum spread while aiming down sight all the way down to 25%. So you're getting a huge bonus of bullet spread when the heavy barrel is equipped. Alternatively, your hip minimum spread is increased to 125%, and on top of that, your actual, what I was just explaining about the suppressor, is actually affected in the opposite way with the heavy barrel. So you actually get your maximum damage for longer when you equip the heavy barrel. Now, all of these, where it gets really confusing is when you start combining these two things. When you start having the foregrip with the suppressor, and that's, I'll go over that real quick. So let's take, we'll do the M27 IAR. So we can get some LMG talk in here. So the foregrip reduces the horizontal recoil on the M27 down to 67% of its original. That's a nice change. Let's say you had the foregrip and the suppressor. So now you've got horizontal recoil down to 67%. You got vertical recoil down to 90%, and ADS minimum spread is going to get all messed up because actually I think it'll actually work out perfect. So you look here, you got 125% caused by the foregrip, but you got 75% caused by the suppressor. So those two balance each other out. However, the suppressor also negatively affects your hip fire minimum spread and your drop-off damage. So basically the point we're trying to make is these attachments intermingle with each other, they cancel each other out in some places, and they complement each other in other places. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing and give you 100 different examples because this is starting to sound like an accounting class, and I know this video has already been dreadful enough to look at, and you're probably like, I don't give a shit, I'm just going to look at the chart myself. That's totally fine. It's in the description below. More importantly, I'm looking for the author of this chart, so if anyone knows it, any Redditors out there remember the original post, I would love to know about it so I could give the person proper credit. And thank him if he is watching. Thank you very much for making this chart. It is mucho helpful to the people who want to really examine what's going on with their weapon and their attachment. So just a quick little video. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys can use the chart. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Alright guys, later.